Hello, Zellners. Here's a walkthrough for your cabinets. Okay, so for starters, in the kitchen. So we had your reference photo, which was here. Let's see here. Okay, so the reference photo has these sliding glass doors. I think that's going to be really neat. I haven't located the exact hardware for it yet, but I feel like that'll be something that I can come up with. Obviously, that'll just be an extra cost over whatever the normal cabinetry cost was figured for this. And this I've pretty much got the same way. The only thing I had considered was whether I could technically make this a little bit wider on each spot. Something that I weighed the pros and cons of doing so. Obviously makes your drawers just a little bit shorter because it would go all the way up. I've done the same styling for the fridge where it's inset. Right now I have everything drawn with this beaded detail around the inside of the doors, which is very much like this. Notice this little round right here? I'm pretty confident that the way that this exact picture was created was using a CNC machine and using a single piece of MDF or HDF. I found this example here, and this is what it looks like right after it comes off the CNC. Notice it has just the tiniest bit of round on the inside of the corner, and I noticed that same thing in your picture here. Just the tiniest bit, a little bit of round there. So that's what made me think that's how this one was created. And that means this is actually a painted cabinet. It just appears to be stained, which I suppose if you really pay attention, it does kind of look like just a unique finish on the cabinet. I found these, which really feel like the same thing. And I can create this on my CNC. Now, there is a way to do this with wood, with actual wood instead of using MDF or HDF. For one, I don't like to use MDF. It's soft. It tends to fall apart. It doesn't handle moisture very good. I prefer to use HDF. It is more expensive, but it makes for a much more durable, denser, stronger material. But you can also do wood with that pattern, though. There's no way to have the rails and stiles go all the way up. So then you would have to miter it in the corner. I'm not a huge fan of mitering just because whenever you miter something together like this, I've seen these seams kind of start coming apart over the years. There's also, Taylorcraft makes this method, which is not a mitered method. I'm not entirely sure their method, but I know that I think only the bead portion is mitered and then everything else goes straight. This is the more expensive style. Obviously this is more expensive, and this would be something that we can make on our CNC machine pretty easily, whereas this and this I would have to order in, and obviously there'd be additional cost involved. Now let me move back into the kitchen here. Okay. So I've actually got a little bit more room here to work with than we thought. I've done the drawers here. Cabinet Vision didn't have a very good way to draw this, so I basically drew a door and I just gave it lines through it to emulate the drawers. But basically this would be a drawer, a drawer, drawer, drawer. This would be a door that would open up, and then inside here we would have that top drawer, and inside here you'd have a shelf, and it would be mirrored on both sides here. And depending on our method for creating this style of door, my method for creating the beaded door in general, my method will change for how I create these doors. Obviously, these would be significantly easier to do with a single piece of HDF on the CNC. As for the vent hood, I've still just got kind of a square box. I need a little bit of guidance on what exactly you want for this. Over here, we had more drawers, and it didn't feel right to change the styling from this side. So basically, whereas these cabinets are all face frame inset, these cabinets are frameless style cabinets, and I continue that pattern over here. It kind of just felt right to just continue this so that just this L section is kind of a unique experience basically. And I've done the same thing with the same pattern with 4 drawers, 2 narrower drawers, 2 bigger drawers. One thing to note is that with frameless cabinets, you actually can fit more height because you have more usable inches, as opposed to face frame. Any kind of face frame cabinet, you lose some with the frame, especially so on inset, even more so than partial overlay. Okay, on the island, so I've got drawers, and drawers. I saw your email. Let's see here. Island. Love the drawers. Okay, some legs on the ends. And if the kids are sitting on it. So I suppose we could do something else here. You know, maybe we do something a little bit more traditional that actually supports it all the way across. More like a table. Let me know if that's something you want to do. I think the only thing here is this would potentially interfere with bar stools. I know for sure you can fit 2. You may only fit 1. So we'll have to play with the dimensions if we include legs on the sides here. The alternative, of course, being for support, you would do metal that is mounted well down into this. You would do metal strapping going across here to support the countertop. So there wouldn't be a question of whether or not the countertop was supported. But you're right that the aesthetics of this is far too plain. We need to do something different to make it look good. I'm open to some thoughts there. Okay, let me show. I'm going to show all the walls here. Okay. In here, I've got the inset style again. Slab style on the drawers. I've got your sink. I've got your under counter fridge thing here. Open shelving. More drawers. The sink is pretty close to center, but I think it is just slightly off center from this opening here. And then this, otherwise this is all pretty symmetrical because this is all the same and this is all the same. I did continue this to the floor everywhere just for consistency's sake. And it looks neat. The question was whether or not I continued this to the floor here. I played with this, and this is how I have it drawn right now, but I can almost just as easily X out this and only keep it going to the floor here. I don't know, but then you've got this wouldn't be symmetrical with this. So this is where I've spent some time just hemming and hawing about this. Again, everything in this room is all painted, and then we just have to make the decision about wood doors and the exact manufacturing method that we'll use for the doors. Obviously, cost-wise, we've already gone quite a bit up in cost just doing inset, and then we could have a cost increase on the door style as well. and we'll just need to weigh those options. Okay, in the pantry. I'm gonna hide some walls here. I'm going to hide, I'll just hide the desk for now so we can see these other two walls. Okay. So you've got storage shelves in here. These are functioning drawers. This is a top drawer that's slab style. I'm not entirely sure that I like the aesthetics of one slab, but then everything else being 5-piece. I'm imagining that you're going to have like a quartz or some other solid stone material for your countertop here. And then these are just adjustable open shelves. And then these are false doors with an opening here for your HVAC to run across here. Okay. Here's your desk area. So this actually does look right to me with the slab, 5-piece slab. And then I've got it so that it goes all the way. This actually looks really neat to me. I really like this little desk area. And these are all face frame inset. This whole room is painted. Laundry room. Okay. I've made our corrections here. I still need to double check my measurements for this wall and the chute and everything. When you said a skirt for the sink, this is what I'm assuming that you meant, was that you would have a sink that's inside here, but otherwise it's open and it's just a skirt. Let me know if that's actually what you meant. I've made it so that everything is the same depth going across. It's all 24 depth. These cabinets I have as partial overlay face frame. I've actually got a different style for the door. Your style that you put in this little thing here is one of our standard styles that we can do, and this is what we used at Mitzi's personal house. This little slight angle here. This is one that I would order from Taylorcraft, but it's not one of their premium line, it's one of their standard lines. Let's see here. It has this IE4 inside edge here. None of these are good examples, but this is like the side profile of it. So that makes this probably one of the only rooms that has kind of our standard pricing that we already budgeted for. I did continue these to the floor, which kind of goes with the styling in the rest of the house. These are painted cabinets. Now let's look at the living room. So I did these just completely flat. They're inset. I kind of did a wider look all the way around here. Depending on how straight your wall is, there may be, well, I mean, we're almost guaranteed to need some kind of additional molding detail around the inside edge all the way around. But these will be some neat units. And these are just flat slab style doors that are inset, and this is painted. Downstairs bathroom. I've gone back to the beaded style with the Little bead on the inside edge. These are a face frame inset painted cabinet. I've got your 16-inch unit, a approximately 24-inch sink area, 16, 24, 16. The only thing that stands out to me in this photo that I have not represented in here is this detail. And that's something we could do. We could do a furniture style toe kick unit. If so, I would probably have it kind of go here and then kind of step up. Maybe step up where the sinks are, or it could just step up once. Yeah, I think that's what I would want to do. Step up once and then approximately like that and have it open right here. I think that would look neat. This is a painted cabinet. Mud bench. So I went real simple here. Cost effective, simple. You get your 4 cubbies. Really nothing too crazy here. I would suggest putting some kind of board or something on the wall. Oops. Kind of across here, and then you can have your hooks on that board. This is a painted cabinet. Kids bath. Okay. Let me find your reference photo for this. Here we go. So I've definitely got a toe kick area that's recessed. Right now I have this stepping out. The main reason I did that is because your countertop is going to step out past the cabinet no matter what. So as such, it makes sense to step this out, but it's also not entirely necessary. You could have the countertop stick out past the cabinet, and then this could be the same depth. What this has differently is this is a face frame inset style versus this is like a frameless style of cabinet. This one appears to be face frame inset. So I kind of emulated this one in the frameless look. But if you want, I could still, of course, do a face frame inset. This one is like a face frame inset, but it has no toe kick or anything underneath, which I don't suggest in the kids' bath. I wouldn't, you probably have all kinds of stuff up underneath this thing. So it makes sense to have some kind of board to stop. Let me see what you said here about the kids' bath. Okay, yes, 45. So I was imagining, I haven't drawn it this way, but basically you'd have the chute back in here in the bottom of this unit. And then when you open up the cabinet door, it would basically be back in here behind the toe kick, right in there. And then stuff can go down in. The way to achieve this style of door, we could either do like an edge banded plywood or with edge banded plywood with strips, or we can do another piece of HDF with all of these lines cut through it. Let me look at your reference again. Yeah, see this one, I bet this is like HDF or MDF that has this cut. What about this one? As flat and everything as this is, I would imagine this is probably the same. This one very well could be. No, you know what? This is still one continuous piece if you look real carefully here. This door is not lined up well, but I would say that each of these is individual pieces with lines cut in it. Now the placement of these lines, I didn't get too artistic with it yet, but I would definitely replace all of these lines and make everything look more consistent and uniform across it, which would require definitely more time and planning in it. But I just want to be sure that we're on the same page before I sink that much amount of time into it. And then as for what's what here, since it all kind of blends in here, this is a drawer, 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 drawer. And then this is a door, 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 door. And this is all painted. Okay, primary bath. This one's fun. So I've done white oak like this. This is gorgeous vanity. Love it. The styling here is very much like Mitzi's cabinet doors. So that's going to be the with that same IE4. So I would order these from Taylorcraft. I like the slab style drawer fronts that are all with zero gap between them. Makes for more usable height. And that's what I've emulated here in how I've drawn this. I like having the extra little shelf here that's a completely separate shelf from this. You know, a lot of times I'll build this as a whole unit. Obviously, it is more cost effective to build it in one unit and just leave an opening. But I do like the aesthetics of a completely separate shelf below the cabinet. White oak is more expensive, and then inset is more expensive than standard pricing. So just this area here, because inset is 30% more, and then white oak is approximately 15 to 20% more than our standard pricing. Primary closet. So I haven't completed this. I noticed that you said paint grade. Of course, this closet is very, very, very beautiful. Stained grade. Almost looks like a walnut or something. Definitely expensive. I noticed that there's like a peninsuled look. So I was considering, there was another reference photo that you showed me when we were together in this room, but I couldn't find a copy of it. I thought I had a copy of it, but I'm not sure what happened to that. It seemed like you had like a seating area here. I'm going to just detail on top of here what I think that you wanted was seating. Of course, you've got your door here. You might have like some kind of hanging storage behind the door, assuming that the door is going to open up like that into the room. Let's see here. So you'll have your hanging stuff on the back here, and then some kind of like drawers or something here. Some shelving units, double hanging. You know what? Maybe you do double hanging all across this back wall. You do like some. Let's see here, 14 by. Maybe some shoe shelves. Seems like you might want some more hanging. Or maybe you increase the shoe shelves and then you do some hanging right here. 24 by 36-ish. Of course, if you do that, maybe you'll want to move the seating area here and have like some drawers here and maybe some drawers here, and then maybe you continue this here. So maybe you have all of this, shoe shelves, double hanging. Maybe this is like single hanging. Drawers, drawers. So that's just one idea. Another idea, let me copy this room. Make a copy here. So you're still limited by the door slightly. Oops. Okay, I'm typing 2, but it's not. There it goes. Another option is in that reference photo that you had kind of like a peninsula drawer thing. I mean, I like that look. Let's see, where's our closet picture here? No, here we go. I mean, that's a neat look. So maybe you have double hanging, which will go out to 24 by 84. And then I like the shoe shelves look. So then you would do shoe shelves, but then have your 20 by 30. Okay, now you would need this continuing out further. So maybe it would go 36, 14. That's not going to work. Hold on. 24 plus 14. Okay, you could do that and still be clear. And then your drawers would come out. What did I make this? So I would actually probably make this 28. So it'd be 14 of 14, because you can do 14-inch deep drawers. 14. So these would be like the amount that your drawers would come out. If we did this like this. And then that's still not a lot of hanging. So then you would want more hanging. I mean, maybe you've got hanging. Yeah, you could do hanging here. You could do hanging all the way to, maybe you stop here, 46 between 5, and have hanging here. It'd be helpful to know how much hanging you need and how many drawers you need and how many shoes you have. So I would need like linear foot of double hanging, or linear foot of short hanging, linear foot of tall hanging, number of shoes to store. These key numbers right here would be helpful for planning this. And then number of drawers needed. Because right now you only have 7 and 7, 14 foot of short hanging right now. So this is only 14 right now. This would only be 4. You would have, how many drawers is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 drawers. So you would have 8 drawers here in this layout. And shoe storage, let's see here. You can get 3 pairs, 1, 2, 3 times 21 times 2. So you get like something like 42. If you wanted to only store shoes, it'd be 42. But obviously, you'll put other things on the shelves. Notice in this picture, they've got lighting here, kind of light strips. Those are really neat. Also, as for how we construct this, obviously we can construct this like, most closets are constructed at MDF. But, we can also use some of the plastic clad melamine, which actually ends up costing about the same as MDF. The biggest difference being that it already has a finish on it, so you would probably want to tape off all of the shelving or paint the walls and then put the melamine in after the walls are painted. So just a consideration there of how to do it. Also, like this look even could be achieved with a wood grain style melamine. Stevens wood would be a good example for that. See, I mean, even just the very first one here, like this roan wood, this is a TFL. And this is just basically a plastic clad printed look. And you can buy this material and build, where's our picture? Build this, roughly this closet with that. Anyways, let me know what you think. I still need to get some pricing together for all this. Having the layout of the closet will kind of help me with pricing out the closet. And then the decisions on what door style or how exactly to achieve that look of the door style will also help me get my pricing together. And then as for actual things that I'm waiting on coming up with a price for, would be like the sliding glass. I've been trying to track down exactly what hardware I feel most comfortable using to achieve this look. I think it'll be a neat look though with the sliding bypass style cabinet doors. So let me know what you think. Thank you guys.